Hello and welcome to the memory card. The Nintendo Switch is beginning a lot of really good releases this year, actually, and also some releases I've been catching up from last year. There's been two particular JRPGs I've been playing a lot recently, one of which is Am Setsuna, which I've downloaded on the Switch, and the other is VIII Lacrimosa of Dana, and I'm going to tell you why those two games are really great and you should pick them up. So first up, I'm going to talk about Am Setsuna. It originally came out on the PS4 and the Vita and PC. It was actually originally a Nintendo Switch launch title as well, but I didn't pick it up until about a couple weeks ago when it was on sale, and I've been wanting to play some JRPGs, so I figured why not. And it's a pretty traditional JRPG by Tokyo RPG Factory, which is an internal Square Enix studio. And it has some traditional turn-based JRPG combat with some nice little additions thrown in. For one thing, there's this momentum system where you basically press Y whenever the screen flashes and you can do additional damage or additional effects for your spells, healing, attack spells, whatever. And I like those kind of things. It reminds me of the timing combat in Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64 and GameCube. And I like the way that that kind of combat system keeps you engaged in the action. And also there's this thing called Sprite Night, which is basically like these items that let you have the different spells and abilities that you can use in Am Setsuna. The basic setup for the story is that you play as Indir, who is a masked mercenary who's tasked with assassinating this girl, Setsuna, but you actually end up helping her on her journey to be a sacrifice to basically save the world. It's a fairly traditional JRPG story. It kind of reminds me of Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The main purpose of Am Setsuna in a lot of Tokyo RPG Factory games is to bring back the traditional old school 90s JRPGs like Final Fantasy IX. And throughout the story, I did really like the characters. I liked the way that they were characterized and the way that people got fleshed out over time and with people's backstories. And I definitely enjoyed the people that I met along the way and the way that the world was fleshed out throughout my gameplay. I also really like the world design, and the soundtrack for the game is stunning. It's all very piano focused. Aside from, I think there's some additions in the battle combat, but aside from that, it's pretty much all piano, and it's all very beautiful and very well done. But over time, the environments do get a little bit fatiguing because it's pretty much all winter all the time. And I definitely like some more color and variety in my environments, but it makes sense considering the world that they're going for feels like a world that's dying and that you're trying to save it. So it makes sense thematically, but definitely I prefer some more variety in my environments. And I do really like the art style, and I like the way the characters are designed and the world design, but there is a weird little detail where I don't think any of the character models have feet, which reminds me of Fire Emblem Awakening on the 3DS, where no one had feet also for some reason. But aside from that, I really like the art style. The overall tone is fairly down. It focuses a lot on death and loss, but there is definitely hope in there. It's not a really depressing game. And it's definitely nice trying to be able to try and bring hope back to people whenever people are being attacked by monsters all the time and are not necessarily in the best of moods. Overall, I do really like this game. It's not super grindy. I definitely had some difficulty with the bosses, and since there's not really an end system like there is in Final Fantasy IX or the Dragon Quest games, you can only really heal yourself by leveling up or using items, so that definitely also adds a bit of difficulty to the game. This game does a really great job of capturing the feel of 90s JRPGs from the Super Nintendo and PlayStation 1, down to some things that I wish were updated, like you can only save in specific save points or on the overworld map, which that was the case in those old JRPGs as well, but nowadays I prefer being able to save whenever I want to, because you never know whenever you're going to need to quit playing to go do something or go somewhere. That problem's a bit lessened on the Nintendo Switch because you can just put the system in sleep mode, but it is still definitely something I wish was there. That's just a convenience I want in just about every game I play. Now next up is a bit less traditional of a JRPG, except it's actually part of a series that has a really long history, all the way back to the Super Famicom, or I think even the original Famicom. But it's VIII Lacrimosa of Dana, which came in this version I got here, the Adventures Edition, which has a cool physical map and some cards. I love having little extras like that with my games. This game was also originally released on the Vita and the PlayStation 4, and I think also on PC. And the visuals definitely look like it was made with the Vita in mind. Even on the PlayStation 4, it doesn't look as stunning as something like God of War or even Ni no Kuni 2. It definitely runs a bit of a higher resolution than the Nintendo Switch, and I'll just get it right out of the way. The only real problem I have with this game, and it's definitely one that will turn some people off, is the resolution that this game runs at. It's very grainy when it's docked on the TV. On the handheld, it's still a bit grainy, but it's less noticeable since it's on a 720p screen on the Switch. Especially in the opening areas, it can be pretty bad. Like, there's this stream in this opening area of the island that you're on, and that stream is just extremely blurry. It looks more low resolution than a lot of PlayStation 1 games did. It's just not very good. But aside from that, I don't really have any complaints with this game. Because other than the resolution issues, I didn't really notice any performance problems. I didn't really notice any dropped frames or anything like that. And I really like the designs of the characters and world in this game. Everything is very vibrant and full of personality and very distinct. I'll give you the basic setup for the story. You play as the series protagonist, Adol Kristen, and you're with your friend Dogi on the ship called the Lombardia, which eventually gets attacked by something that's basically a kraken, and the ship gets destroyed and you all end up on this desert island. And the basic plot for the rest of the game is trying to find all the passengers from the Lombardia that landed on the island and kill the kraken and escape the island. That's the basic setup for the plot, nice and simple. But there are some nice twists along the way that I didn't expect. And I love all the characters in the party. I love the way that they're designed, and I like how everyone in the party, and even just the people that just make up the rest of the castaway village that you end up making, all of them have distinct goals and personality quirks and unique designs to them. Everyone feels distinct, and that design carries over to the rest of the game as well. All the different areas of the island all feel distinct, whether it's just from the geography and topography to the flora and fauna and all the different monsters and basically dinosaurs that you find. Every area feels distinct. And also, the music is amazing in this game. I love just about every single song in this game. Some of the music reminds me of Hyrule Warriors, which is not a bad thing because I love the music in that game. But the music also helps to add to the different areas to feel very distinct. Now, gameplay-wise, this is more like an action JRPG. It's all real-time combat. You're pressing A to do your basic attacks. You can do aerial attacks, which can change depending on whether your momentum is going up or down. And there's also a different array of special abilities that you can swap out. They're all mapped to the face buttons. And it definitely adds to variety and helping each character feel different and give you a lot of customization in combat as to which abilities you want each character to have, alongside just being able to swap out the different characters. And there's 3 different, basically, damage types for the characters. There's basically a slashing, piercing, and blunt damage. And over time, you end up with about 6 party members, so you can swap out who you prefer for each different type of damage. And there's a lot of different monsters that you fight in the game that are weak to a different type of damage. And whenever you use that particular character to attack them, it will cause a break, which basically mean that you'll do more damage for a limited amount of time on the monster, which adds a bit more strategy to the combat to keep it from just being really hectic, considering it's in real time. Also in the combat, there's a dodge mechanic and a guard you can do, and if you time those correctly, not only does it keep you from getting hurt, it also adds up your extra gauge, which is what you use to do your special abilities. So the combat's really fun. It's not exactly a full-on spectacle fighter like Bayonetta 2, but it is still really fun and satisfying combat. I've had a blast with this game, whether it was in the cutscenes, or just exploring the island, or also in all the many, many battles that are in the game. And also all the boss fights are pretty fun. Not any of the boss fights really... I felt they were a little bit easier than the ones in Am Setsuna, but I did really like how distinct each of the bosses were. And even with some of the reoccurring bosses, it was fun to see how you were able to do a bit better whenever you were leveled up, whenever you fought them the second or third time, or how many it was. And also, the Switch version of the game comes with some of the cosmetic DLC, which is basically just some costumes and little accessories, They're fun, and I really like the deserted pirate costumes for everyone. Those are pretty much the ones I use for a lot of the games just because I liked the piratey designs, especially in one with Adol. I really liked his pirate costume. One detail with this game that I really appreciate is that the armor and accessories that you used for defense to like boost your stats are separate than the costumes that you wear to just change how your character looks. That way you aren't getting weird mismatched armor, so you can just keep a consistent look for your character throughout the game, and I really enjoyed that. But overall, I was absolutely enthralled by this game and was playing this constantly. I love this game. This is the very first Ys game I've ever really played, and it's made me a fan of the series. I'm going to have to pick up the other games on the Vita, and I think I might have downloaded one or two of them on the Wii from the Virtual Console, but I'm definitely going to be playing more of the series now. And I'm looking forward to the eventual Ys 9, because this has quickly jumped up to be one of my favorite games I played on the Switch and one of my favorite JRPGs in general. Aside from the issue with the resolution, which is a fairly big one, and it'll turn off some people because it does not look as good as it should, but please don't let it keep you from playing this game because it is one of the best games you can play on the Switch, in my opinion. I absolutely love this game and could not recommend this game higher, except for the resolution. But regardless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the memory card.